Welcome to the fourth webinar in our series about Grazier Safety Series, presented in conjunction with OB Organic and Grazing BMP. My name is Brenton Garlick, Senior Project Officer in the Compliance and Business Engagement Unit of Workplace Health and Safety Queensland, and I will be both your facilitator and host for today's webinar. Thank you for joining us for today's session, which will be on the fourth element of the safety management system, and that is induction, training and supervision. The first three webinars are now live on our website, and the address for where these can be found will be shown at the end of today's session, as well as sent by email to anyone who has registered for today's session as well. Please send any questions through at any time during the webinar, and we will endeavour to answer them at the end. Please also take a few minutes to complete the survey at the end of the webinar, as this provides us with valuable feedback about how we can tailor these services for the agricultural industry. If you have any problems accessing this link, please also let us know and we can email this to you. An email address will be provided to you at the end of today's session as well. So again, I'd like to welcome everyone to the fourth webinar in our series. For those of you who were not able to make the first three webinars, that information is not mandatory prior to this webinar, but you can go back and have a look at those webinars or refresh yourself with that information at a later date. So as you can see on the screen here, today's webinar is about the fourth step to your safety management system, and that is induction, training and supervision. So employers have an obligation under the legislation that they must provide their workers with any information, instruction and training and supervision to ensure their health and safety at work. Managers and supervisors should also be provided with the information, instruction and training that they need so they can ensure the health and safety of the people under their supervision. The induction and training needs to be appropriate for the tasks being done and given in a way that the workers can understand the information. You may want to consider using diagrams and photos as part of this process, as they are an easy and effective tool to assist people in understanding the information you are giving them. If you employ migrant workers who may not have the greatest understanding of English, you might need to consider having the information translated as well. An induction is the best way to make new workers, both young and old, aware of how the business operates. It makes them aware of important procedures and how to manage workplace risks. You should document the procedures for new workers or contractors, workers transferring to a new job or location, and workers that are undertaking a hazardous task for the first time. Inductions are also a useful way to refresh workers moving to a new location in the business or going to operate a new machine for the first time. Workers who may have been on extended leave could also benefit from an induction refresher. An induction process should also be completed for any visitors that come onto your property. An induction checklist will make sure you have covered all the necessary topics and make sure that the workers sign and date the checklist once they've completed it. Keep this as your record in the employee's file. We have provided a sample induction checklist template, and this is available as part of the series about farm safety guide. Like all the templates that we are providing through this webinar series, if you have trouble viewing this or if you did not receive it, we will send them to you after the webinar via email. We will have a look at the template on the next slide, but before we do, let's just go through some of the information an induction should include. So when you're putting together your induction, the induction should describe the worker's role, such as who to report to, the tasks that are to be done, and the hours of work and pay rates. You may want to put on there the workplace layout, such as location of facilities and first aid equipment, and the details of emergency plans, contact personnel, and any equipment. Detail the risks associated with the tasks in the workplace, and provide details about the health and safety representatives, if you have any, arrangements for consulting with the workers, such as toolbox talks, and the roles and responsibilities of key people involved in health and safety at your workplace. They should outline workplace policies and general rules, such as housekeeping or keeping machinery guards in place, as well as specific rules. So that's things such as not using hazardous substances without first reading the safety data sheets, and also any reporting requirements, such as incident, injury, and damaged equipment. You should also include task-based training including all your safe work procedures, and demonstrate the use of personal protective equipment, your PPE, and outline appropriate clothing that needs to be worn, as well as cover workers' compensation insurance and the business's return to work program. So as you can see here in the screen in front of you, this is a screenshot of the first section of the induction checklist template which we have provided. It is only a template, so you are able to add or delete things which will make it more relevant to your business. When this is emailed to you and on our website, it is provided in a Word format, so you can easily make amendments to that. So we'll just go through the different sections in there for you to have a look at. So Section 1, it explains the health and safety laws. Section 2 is how to report an incident, injury or hazard. Section 3 is take new worker for a workplace tour to show them all the facilities. Section 4 is how to complete manual task risks. Section 5 is how to deal with hazardous chemicals. Section 6, how plant and equipment can be dangerous. Section 7 is about your safe work procedures in the workplace. Section 8 is all about your PPE, your personal protective equipment. Section 9 is workplace bullying and harassment. Section 10 is remote work and isolated work. Section 11 is the consultation process. And Section 12 is all about your workers' compensation. And then as you'll see down the bottom, you've got the signature and the date that both your supervisor or the employer, as well as the worker, when they've gone through that information. So as you can see from that information there will be some elements that may not be relevant to your workplace, and there may be some that are missing. So you can amend that template to make sure that it's suitable for your workplace specifically. So particular attention should be given to young workers with limited experience or background in a rural environment or the tasks that they are doing. We know that the statistics show that 1 in 4 injuries are people aged between 25 and 34 in the agricultural industry, and around 4,400 young workers between the age of 15 and 24 are injured at work in Queensland each year. They may not be confident to ask questions, so it's important during the induction to make sure they understand the job that they are doing and that they are adequately supervised and made to feel comfortable about asking questions. Make sure they're comfortable to report hazards or discuss any issues they have as well. The information needs to be supplied in different ways if you have young workers, and especially those from non-English speaking backgrounds. So be sure to include photos, diagrams, and practical demonstrations to make it easier for them to understand the instructions and the information that you're giving. Your responsibility for seasonal workers and workers from a labour hire agency is just the same as any other employer. They also require induction, training, and supervision. But because they only work on your property for a short period of time, they are at a higher risk of injury because they have limited experience and knowledge of your property. If you use a labour hire agency, both the agency and you have duties to maintain the health and safety of the workers. When using a labour hire agency, make sure you specify the tasks to be done, the skills and experience needed, appropriate clothing to be worn, and any other special conditions or equipment to be used, and also any licenses that are required. You and the labour hire agency are joint PCBUs in this situation and must consult and cooperate with each other as per the legislation. It is also important to discuss your PPE as part of your induction. If you are using PPE to control the risk of injury, you must follow the Workplace Health and Safety Regulation, which discusses the provision, selection, maintenance, and information on how to use it correctly. Relying on PPE alone will not reduce the risk of an incident occurring, but it could reduce the severity of the injury. So for example, a helmet could reduce the severity of a head injury to a rider of a quad bike, but it would not prevent the incident from happening. So an employer must manage the risk to health and safety for contractors just the same as they would for any other worker. Contractors need to be inducted at the same level as any new worker and also have a signed agreement. So that includes site-specific induction for the contractor before they start work. The health and safety requirements of contractors are usually included in the contract document to ensure the work is carried out safely and according to any agreed procedures. They must be suitably qualified and hold necessary licenses to carry out the intended work, So that's things such as a high-risk work licence for operating a forklift, or a chem cert if they are there to spray. All machinery and equipment brought on site and used must be well maintained with all guards in place. As we said before, there is a shared responsibility between the PCBU and the contractor who also employs workers. And remember, the PCBU must consult, cooperate and coordinate with the contractor. Now, training. You should train your workers in your work procedures to ensure that they are able to perform the tasks safely. Training should require workers to demonstrate that they are competent in performing the tasks according to your procedures. Training will ensure that your workers know about issues that will affect their health and safety, and it will provide your workers with information about potential risks associated with their work, the safety policies and procedures you have in place, how to work safely, and how to deal with emergencies. It is not sufficient to simply give a worker the procedures and ask them to acknowledge that they understand and are able to perform. Employees should identify and arrange the following: what specific training will be conducted for employees, when the training will be conducted, who will conduct the training, records of the training for the business and for each worker, review and revise the training plan at reasonable intervals, and also keep copies of licenses, certificates, or other evidence of formal qualifications or competencies held by your employees. Now, training isn't just about the procedures. A worker should also be trained, instructed, and have information about the safe and correct use of their PPE. If PPE is provided, a worker must use it as per the instructions and training. And also remember to review your training information periodically to ensure that it is up to date and the most effective. Now, a simple template for a training register has been provided to you. Again, it is on the screen. You can have a look at it there, and we will send this out to you if you've been unable to download that. So again, you can make changes as needed to suit your business and your employees. So make sure your workers sign the training register once they have completed any training. It is very important to keep records of training and licenses, and in the event of an incident, this evidence could be vital to demonstrate your commitment to workplace health and safety, and it will also assist with any investigations that may occur. Now, supervision will ensure that your policies and procedures are being followed, that non-compliances are addressed and rectified, and provide a direct link from the employer to the worker. Good supervisors are essential for improving productivity and maintaining the safe work practices within your workplace. The level of supervision required will depend on the level of risk and the experience of the workers involved. High levels of supervision are necessary where inexperienced workers are expected to follow new procedures or carry out difficult and critical tasks. When determining adequacy, you should consider the level of risk in the job, the age and experience, and also the competence of the worker. And you also should consider any of the existing controls in place to reduce the risk. Maintaining records of supervision, such as a diary note or team meeting minutes, can help to promote consistent work practices. You can also consider spot checks. So stand back and watch your staff complete the tasks. You don't need to let them know that you're doing this beforehand, because this will enable you to see them working naturally. This isn't designed to catch people out and get them in trouble, but more to see if complacency is creeping in. And you may even find that there is a new and safer way of performing a task, depending on what your workers are doing. So to summarise the information that we have just gone through for the induction, training and supervision, some key aspects and what you need to do is establish a safety induction process for all of your workers, review your training periodically, provide task-specific training, and provide adequate supervision. Make sure that you continually assess your workers' competence, and make sure you're also enforcing any procedures. Keep your induction and training records, and identify gaps in your training and supervision. And the number one rule is continually improve your training. So as we've emphasised in each of these webinars, and this slide is very important in all the webinars so far, consultation is part of legislation and an important part of developing your safety management system. The more you consult with your workers, the more buy-in you will have, as this will enable your workers or your contractors or even visitors to your property to take ownership of their own work and their own safety, and also the safety of others around them. Okay, so that's the end of the webinar today. So we will have some time for some questions. So while we wait for any of your questions to come through, I'll just go over a few reminders for you. So the completed webinars, they will be on the website over the coming weeks, and that address where you can find that is www.worksafe.qld.gov.au, and on the website there is a special site on there specifically for the agricultural industry. Also, a reminder to please take a few minutes to complete the survey at the end of this webinar to provide us with your feedback. This will show up just before you close your browser at the completion of the webinar. And please subscribe to the eSafe newsletter through the website. There are 3 specific rural eSafes that are produced each year, and they are sent out to you via email. If you're unable to subscribe, they are also listed on our website, so you can go and view them at any time. If you would like to contact us for more assistance or information, or even if you have a question that's more specific to your workplace, please send an email to the address shown on the screen, and that is agriculture@justice.qld.gov.au, or phone 1300 362 128 and ask for your query to be sent through to the agricultural unit. We do have specific members of that unit who have extensive background knowledge in the agricultural industry and will be able to assist you further. So details for registration for the next session in early November, they will be notified on the OB Facebook page and on our website. So we'll just check now to see if there are any questions that have come through. And if there are, we will be able to answer them for you. Okay, so we have one question that's come through. So it says, the question is, can you please advise of any procedures for visitors to properties who are keen to help on farm or on stations? So with any procedures, I guess, we don't have any specific procedures that we can send out. That's going to be very specific to your own workplace. The best place to start, I would suggest, is with the induction checklist that we've sent through to you. A lot of the induction information on there is also relevant to visitors who come onto the workplace and not just workers. We do have the Serious About Farm Safety guide, which also does include a little bit of information on that as well. However, if you want further information about specific procedures which are specific to your workplace, depending on what type of property it is, my suggestion would be to get in contact with the agricultural team. They may have someone in your area who would be able to come out and either have a look at your property or give you a call and actually speak about what your property does, so that they can help you tailor those procedures for you. So number one, the first port of call I would say would be the induction checklist, the generic one that we have sent out to you. And then if you want anything more specific and more tailored, then I would suggest to contact the agricultural team direct, and they'd be more than happy to assist you. Okay, so another question that's come through, can we provide with template examples of diagrams for properties, layout and common hazards? So for the common hazards, absolutely. There is some code of practice, and also in our Serious About Farm Safety guide, there are a few codes of practice which do identify some common hazards that are common to the entire agricultural industry and also the beef industry. So we'll make a note of that and make sure that we send that out to everyone in today's webinar, just so you've all got that. In relation to diagrams for properties and the layout, we don't have that, but I would suggest to maybe get in contact with your industry associations who may be able to help you with any diagrams that they've got for property using satellite technology. Another one that's come through is, how can or should a cattle property induct chopper or plane contractors, especially if they fly on and off a property for a specific mustering job without landing? That is a tricky one, especially in relation to pilots or chopper and plane pilots, because they're not necessarily regulated under the Workplace Health and Safety Act. CASA, the Civil Aviation Authority, they also have a jurisdiction over pilots, both in choppers and on planes. So it's probably best to do the general induction about the site induction with your property, but anything in relation to their job, is a little bit outside of the workplace health and safety jurisdiction. Again, we do have a few inspectors who do work quite closely with the beef cattle industry who are stationed up north and out west. For specific information about that, above and beyond the general induction, I would suggest to maybe contact the agricultural team, because they deal with the beef cattle farmers on a daily basis. So they may have some further information or know who that you can contact to give you some further information about any specific induction requirements that you need for any pilots that may be contracting to you. No worries. Well, that looks like all the questions for today. Again, though, that email address that is on the screen, if you're going through this information again, or even with any of the other webinars, if you go back and do refreshers on them, if you do have any questions or any specific questions in relation to your property, please feel free to email that website. It's not a generic website. It does go straight to the project officer for the agricultural team, so you will get a personalised response. Or call the Infoline number. Again, it's 1300 362 128. And any one of our inspectors or project officers or advisors within the agricultural unit will be more than happy to get back in contact with you either by email or by telephone, and they can talk to you about your specific requirements for your property. So if that's all the questions for today, I want to thank you for attending today's webinar. We will send out the templates from today's session to everyone who registered in the next couple of days. And I look forward to talking to you at the next webinar, and that next webinar is on reporting safety, and that is going to be held on Wednesday, the 2nd of November. So again, thank you everyone for tuning in.